you have all your props, blocks, chair, whatever you have, what you're using, we're going to begin in a seated position. All right, so seated position on the floor, seated position on a chair, whatever feels good for your body today. So we're going to begin with just closing your eyes. We're going to start with the breath, breathing in and out of your nose. With your eyes closed, you can really check in and see what's going on in your body today. So if you woke up with any sort of new experience, a new sensation, I'll call it, then yeah, that's going to be part of your practice today. So you're going to take it along with you. All right, so breathe in, breathe out. Try not to become discouraged, attached to anything that you find. Just kind of look at it and say, okay, that's today, and it's all good. And then notice any thoughts that are particularly hanging out in your mind today. So they're there, but I don't want you to become attached to them. So you just kind of put them in the background so that they're not distracting you from being really present with your practice. So tuning into the sound of your breath, that always helps. If that doesn't do it for you, you could always count, right? To count your breath, count your inhales, count your exhales. Sometimes that will help you to stay distracted from the mind stuff, the body stuff. Okay, so whatever you find, that will be your modifications for today. All right, so in our practice today, we're going to be working mostly on the range of motion in our hips. Okay, so that seems to be a big one. And hips are pretty important in yoga, and you know, whatever you find in your practice today, because I want you to be very, like I said, exploratory in your practice and see what you can do to make the poses more accessible for you and to explore that range of motion in your hips today. All right, let's begin with an intention, palms together and thumb knuckles at the heart. So just set your intention for your practice. Maybe it's just being present, which is always good, or anything else that you're working on today. And then you can just release your hands down onto your lap. So because we're working on the hips today, we're going to be focused as we sit here, just kind of movement. So I want you to start with just tucking your tailbone so you can feel like your pelvis, hips, so your tailbone's moving forward. And then as you go the other direction, your tailbone is moving back. So just feel that movement. And this is basically like the seated cat and cow, but more focused on the lower part of your body. So hips and pelvis, lower back, abdominals. So breathing is always important. So your breath is the barometer for your practice. So if you feel like I'm not really focused on my breath, then I want you to go there, because usually if we start losing the breath is when we probably aren't paying attention to what's happening in our physical body. So close your eyes, breathe in and out, move within your range. And we'll do one more. And then we'll come back to neutral spine. A neutral spine for you is just going to be where you're sitting tall, your shoulders are relaxed, and you're the natural curves of your own spine. All right, so let's circle the arms up. And then we're going to clasp the hands, and then we're going to turn the palms up towards the ceiling. So let's take a stretch. So as you stretch up, soften the shoulders, sink into your sitting bones and tailbone. We're just going to take some side lateral stretches. So you can go in either direction, because we're going to go back and forth. So you're inhaling and exhaling. Good. One more to each side. And then when you come back to center, we're going to release the arms. Just going to give them a little shake out. Maybe circle the wrists a little bit, both directions. So today's practice, we will be doing some downward facing dog and we'll be on our hands and knees. So I want you to take anything that you need for that support. So whether you need wrist supports today, knee supports, and then you have a chair. I think a chair is a great way to modify, especially if you have, you know, any knee issues. So you can just skip being on the floor altogether. Also, a folded blanket is nice to have underneath of the knees. And then if you have wrist issues, I would roll up the front of your mat is a good way to do that. Or you could have another blanket or something underneath the wrist. And blocks too. Blocks are always good for underneath the wrist. So let's make our way to whatever tabletop you're using today. So whether you're using the chair with your hands on the seat of the chair and your feet on the floor, or you're just having your knees on a support. All right, so we're going to start with just the breath. So we're going to breathe in through the nose. And as you exhale, I want you to lift your lower belly up. So when you do this, you're creating support for your lower spine. So this here, drawing up and in, is an important step before we start to move the legs, because you don't want to create any discomfort in your back. And if your belly's relaxed, and sometimes you'll go into an anterior tilt, which puts more pressure on the spine. So I want you to just be in a neutral spine. All right, let's take a breath. We're going to shift the weight slightly onto your left knee so that your right knee can come off the ground. And we're going to extend it back, right? So you're just reaching the leg back, and then we're going to bend the knee, right? So as you bend the knee, your foot is pointing up towards the ceiling. We're going to pull the knee in towards your chest, just as far as it'll go. So you're exploring here your range of motion of your hip, and then you're going to take it back. So we're doing flexion and extension. So flexion is when the knee comes forward, and extension is when it moves back. So when you lift your leg back behind you, when you're doing any of your yoga poses, your extension of your hip may not be very much, and it's fine because it shouldn't have to go back very far. And then you're going to bring your knee into your chest. Because once you get your leg back too far, then you're dumping into your spine, which you don't want to do. We're going to stay just for the movement of the hip. All right, let's go ahead and do your abduction, which means leg out to the side, right? So this is your abduction, out to the side. And you'll be using your outer hip muscles. So you might feel, oh, those are interesting. And, you know, just notice that. And then we're going to slowly bring the knee into your chest, and we're going to do a little bit of adduction, which means you're going to pull the knee towards your left elbow, and then just bring it back to its neutral position. And then we'll do that one more time. Pull it in, and then we're going to set it down. Let's take a breath, and we're going to get off those wrists for a break. So we'll stretch back to child's pose, and then you can just circle the wrists a couple times each direction. And then you can always do this as needed throughout your practice if you're on hands and knees or in downward facing dog and you want to take a child's pose. I always encourage that to happen because you always have to honor your body. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Again, it's exploration. So we're going to shift our weight so that your right knee becomes more heavy and your left knee becomes more light so that you can lift it up. And then we're just going to play around with that extension, flexion, right? Bringing the knee into the chest, bringing it back up, right? So the knee is bent, and you can flex your foot if you want to. Pull it in, send it back. Good, just one more of those. And then we'll go into abduction, which means your legs going out to the side. Sometimes we call these hydrants, right? So just knee out the side, a couple of those. And then we're going to bring the knee in, and then you're going to bring it towards your right elbow, and then back to center. And then just one more of those, and set it down. All right, so tucking the toes under, we're going to come to downward facing dog pose. So spread your fingers out wide, press into all of your fingers, and then we're lifting up. So engage your abs first, then float the knees up. We're going to keep the knees bent in this first one. So as you stretch back, you're lifting your sitting bones and tailbone high, and your gaze is going to be down at the mat or maybe between your legs. So your head is between your upper arms. Deep breath in and out. And then we're just going to take a slow walk up to your hands, right? So if you have a prop in the way, go ahead and move that, and then continue walking yourself up. So you're going to come to your first standing forward bend. So if you're tighter here in your hamstrings, please bend your knees, right? You can put your hands on your legs. If you have yoga blocks, you can put your hands on yoga blocks. And if you have a chair, your hands can go on the seat of the chair. All right, so let's sway our hips right and left. Take some breaths in and out of your nose. And then move your hands up to your hips, right? So put your fingers into your hip creases or your thumbs into your hip creases so that you can feel right there at the top of your femur bone where your hips go into the hip socket. All right, we're going to press our thumbs in or your fingers in, and we're going to come up very slowly. So you're going to feel the difference as you come up, what's happening right where those hip creases are, right? So I want you to keep your fingers there on your hip creases. All right, so from here, we're going to do pelvic tilt standing up, right? So you're pulling your butt out, which means you're pushing your tailbone out, and then you're going to pull your tailbone in. With your fingers here, right at your hip creases, you're going to feel the tissue soft, and then the tissue gets like really taut as you go into this posterior tilt. So anterior tilt, posterior tilt. So soft as you go into anterior, taut and hard when you come into your posterior tilt. Now I want you to come to your neutral spine. So it'll be in between, you know, those two places of being really soft and really taut. And that's where you want to be, in this neutral spine. So put your hand back there, feel your lower back, your lumbar spine. So it shouldn't feel like you're this, and you shouldn't feel tucked under. You should feel like natural curves of your lumbar spine. Relax your arms down, take a breath. Let's reach the arms up high, extended mountain pose, relax the shoulders. We're going to bend the knees. So as you bend your knees, we're coming into chair pose. You're going to send your hips back, right? So you're going to sit down into a chair, right? And if it's too much to have the arms up here, you're going to bring them into heart center, because we're not really focusing on the arms today, we're focusing on the hips. Take a breath in and out. Check in with your feet. So without looking at them, lift up your toes, spread them out, and set your big toe all the way to your pinky toe down on the mat so you can feel the whole foot as it spreads out. Really important to remember that the feet touching the earth are so important for our alignment. All right, so press down into your feet. Let's straighten the legs and relax the arms down. And if you have a yoga block, or you have maybe a throw pillow would work too. You could use one of these, like throw pillows, or even a folded tower blanket. We're going to put it between our legs, because we're going to work on focusing on the inner thighs, right? And then this is just a drawing inwards of the midline. All right, so find that mountain pose again. Feet connected to earth, breath flowing in and out of your nose, and then this new addition of the block between your thighs. So kind of let your body integrate that. So squeeze it, relax, squeeze it, relax, so you can feel the inner thigh muscles working, your adductors. All right, so let's bring hands into heart center, and we're going to revisit that chair pose again. So bend the knees. And this time I want you to think about hugging your inner thighs towards each other, lifting up from there to your pelvic floor and then into your lower abs, your transverse abdominis muscles. So support this pose, right, to help you support it. So it's not all quads and it's not all glutes, that all the other muscles are helpers, right? They're helpers for this, so that you don't feel like, oh my gosh, my quads are on fire. So a lot of times we don't let other muscles share in the work. So we're trying to distribute it out so that they don't feel like they're like doing everything. Everyone has to do their load. All right, so we're gonna straighten the legs, and I want you to put your hands on your thighs and lengthen your spine. So you can feel like your thigh bones are pressing back and that the crown of your head is extending forward. And we're just creating length in our spine. Take another breath in, and then see if we can maintain this length as we slowly fold forward. Bend your knees when you need to get to the point where you don't feel like you can come down any further. Just keep bending your knees. Good. And then you can use the other block if you want to. Put your hands there. Take a deep breath in and out. Last breath. And then we're going to slowly roll up. So release the hands, let them hang loose. Keep squeezing the block, keep lifting up your lower belly as you roll yourself up. Stack up your vertebrae one on top of the other, and then stand in mountain pose again. Close your eyes and just notice what you feel in your body. All right, so we're going to remove that prop that's between your legs, and you can set them aside. All right, standing in mountain pose. All right, so standing here in mountain pose, connect to the four corners of your feet. You're going to take a breath, and we're going to push more weight into your left foot, and we're going to let the right foot float up. So you're going to try to bring it up to 90 degrees, right? So that you have a 90-degree angle at your knee joint. All right, bring your hands either to your hips or to heart center. Again, engage the core. So, you know, this is a balance, right? Balances are difficult. Engage all the muscles. Remember the inner thighs? Remember those glutes? All right, so we're going to hinge forward from your hips. So you're coming forward. At the same time, you're going to take the same bent leg back, right, into more hip extension, right? And then we're going to straighten at the knee joint. So you're reaching the leg back. So voila, we're in a warrior three. But we're going to bend the front knee to land into a lunge pose. So your heel stays lifted in the back. And both of the knees are going to be slightly bent. So not straight, and they're not deeply bent. They're just going to be both slightly bent. Hands going to come to your hips. So take a moment just to notice your body, right? So where do you feel? Like, do you feel tightness here in the front of your hip? Right? Do you feel tightness in your thigh? Do you feel this in your knees, right? Because knees, oh my gosh, we're going to do knees in our next class, but all the muscles that support the knees, your quadriceps, your hamstrings, your glutes. All right, so we're going to work on those right now. So we're going to bend both of your knees just as low as you can get them without going into any discomfort or pain. So for today, for you, it's just this, then that's what it is today, right? So I don't want you to go any further. No pain, right? And just lower and push into your feet to straighten your legs, and then press down. So remember to keep everything strongly engaged in your core, and you're just bending the knees. We're going to do one more. And then you're going to be just here in this little slightly bent lunge pose. And we're going to slowly hinge forward. And we're going to pick up the back leg. So back to that warrior three. Bend your knee. Pull it all the way forward. Stand up so that the knee comes up where we started. And then set it down. And then you're back to mountain pose. And let's shake it all out. Shake out your arms. Shake out your legs. Maybe do a couple little hip circles, right? Check in. And then stand in stillness, close your eyes. And just begin to notice. The most important thing is, like, you're doing this work because you're exploring in your body what is happening, right? Do you feel weaker in your knees? Do you feel weaker in your hips, your glutes? Where is that point in your body that you feel like I need to strengthen this area of my body or this area of my body, right? So it's just, you're kind of taking this information in. And then you can always email me, text me later and say, hey, I noticed this. What can I do to strengthen that? And I'd be happy to help you. All right, so mountain pose. And we're going to do that same thing on the other side. So you're grounding through your right leg. Let the left leg float up to 90 degrees. All right, so press into the whole foot. Lift up the lower belly. This is all helping you. Hands can go to hips. We're hinging back. You take your time with it. Straighten out the leg. Bend your front knee. Land your toes. And then bring your torso up so you're upright and your shoulders and hips are in line. Knees are slightly bent. And then slowly bend and straighten. And it could feel completely different on the side, so I want you to notice that. Okay, do you feel more? Do you feel less? Does it feel good? Does it not? Right? The nose are just noticing, not judging. It's just factual information. Just the facts, ma'am. All right, one more of those. Okay, and we're going to hinge forward, weight shift, front, back leg floats, knee bends, and we're pulling it forward. And we're standing up. So lots of work happening in your standing leg here as you do this. And then lower it down, shake it all out, and stand in mountain pose. Close your eyes and just take a breath or two here. All right, let's inhale the arms up. And we're going to exhale. Let's come to our forward fold. So you're going to go to where it feels comfortable in your body, and I encourage you to bend your knees. Okay, we're going to make our way down to the floor. So you're planting your hands. We're going to step back into a plank or a modified plank with the knees down. So plank pose, nice strong core, and then you're going to lower your knees first, untuck your toes, and then bend your elbows to lower yourself down to the ground. All right, so we are going to work on more of our glutes and more into hip extension here on the floor, because obviously you can't push your legs further down into the floor. All right, so you can prop yourself up here, or you can just relax. We're not doing anything with the upper body, just the low body. So I want you to be comfortable. So you can put a pillow or whatever you want under your head. You can stack up your hands. All right, so take a breath in, fill up your belly, and then exhale, breath out. And let's bend the right knee and flex your foot. All right, so you're going to lift your thigh and knee off the floor, and you're using your glutes to make that happen. So it may only come off the floor an inch or even barely an inch. Right, so just notice it. You're going to feel the muscles firing when that's what I want. So even if it doesn't come off the floor, you're still using the muscles to activate it. So do about 3 on the side, and then extend the leg, relax it, and then switch. Lift and lower 3 times. Feel the muscles working in the back of your leg. So hamstrings, glutes. At the same time, you're pushing your hips down into the mat. Pubic bone down into the mat. Relax. And then bend your knees. Swish them, circle them, release any tension. And then straighten out your legs again. All right, so take a breath in through the nose. And as you exhale, you're going to push your hips down into the mat. See if you can float both of your legs off the floor without lifting anything else in the upper body. Breathe in and out. So now you're thinking about lengthening from your hips all the way down to your heels. And then lower it down. Good. Bring your hands under the shoulders. We're going to press up into child's pose. So stretch back. Take a breath. Wiggle, move in any way that feels good in your body right now. And then inhale, tabletop, and then downward facing dog pose. So you're tucking your toes, engage that lower abs, lift up, and then you can keep the legs bent if you like that, like this. Keep lifting the sitting bones high, sway your hips. You can start to pedal your feet, so pressing one heel down, bending opposite leg. Doing that a couple more times. And then just come to stillness. You're going to shift your gaze between your feet, between your ankles. We're going to just float the right leg off the floor a couple inches and reach it back. Just as high as you can get it. And then we're going to bend the knee, and I'm going to have you pull it into your chest, right? And then you're extending it back, and you're going to pull it into your chest. And then we're going to slowly lower back down to the floor to your tabletop position. Take a breath. So the big transition in yoga postures is stepping forward from downward facing dog pose. And I know that it's very challenging for many, many people. So that one's a kind of work in progress, but I'm going to just work a few things. So we did this knee to chest, right? So we can do this here in our tabletop. And then I want you to get to the point where you can pull the knee in and then maybe shift your weight more and even help your leg. So holding onto the back of the leg and just kind of pulling it forward like this helps you to get that leg to come forward. But a lot of it's just core strength and bringing that leg forward. So the more you practice it, obviously, the easier it becomes because you get stronger. So try it on both sides. Pull it in, stretch it back, and then pull it in, and then maybe slide a little bit over to get the leg to come forward. So maybe you have to take it outside of this leg. Maybe you're grabbing it and kind of giving a little assist as you bring it forward. Okay, so you just come there. And that just helps you to get that foot forward. And again, it's all practice and getting it to happen in your body. And if it doesn't happen, well, so what? There's other ways to modify it. So let's come back into downward facing dog pose. Let's try it. So I want you to pick up your right foot and then bend the knee into your chest and see if you can get the leg forward. You have to shift your upper body forward too, and then plant it. And then take it back again, downward facing dog, and do it on the other side. Take up left foot, bend it in, shift your body weight forward and then put your foot down. See where it goes. It might come up as higher than you think it's going to. A lot of times our mind gets in the way in this stuff. And then back to downward facing dog. And we're going to walk the feet forward to hands. So take your time to get there. And then roll up to stand. Good. And then just relax the arms, shake them out. Deep breath in and out. So we're going to work on the warrior poses and just hip placement and foot placement in warrior. So extended mountain pose and chair pose. So sink into your chair, look down at the floor, and we're going to step back with your left foot. And then we're going to put our hands on our hips and we're going to do a big turn. So you're turning your upper body as it's coming up. So in warrior 2, your hips are open. So your front leg is an external rotation and your back leg is an internal rotation. So the hips are doing different things. One hip's doing one thing, the other one's doing the other hip. So look at your feet. Feet is always a good way to kind of see where your legs are. So if your knee is tracking inwards, so your knee is tracking towards the inside of your big toe, I want you to lift up your heel, move your heel in, and see what happens with this front leg. Should have adjusted a little bit better. And then the back leg, you're having it slightly turned in, and then just check and make sure the outer edge of your foot is pressing down into the mat. Now, you could always do a wider stance. I always say heel to arch, front heel, back arch, but you can also do heel to heel. So it gives you a little bit more wider base of support. So you have to look at your body and see what feels better for you. So play with that and see how it feels in your hips, see how it feels in your legs. And your knee does not have to be bent 90 degrees, right? So, even my leg doesn't come down that far. It's deep. You have to have a lot of openness and those adductor muscles in order to get your hips to sink down that much. So I don't want you overstretching it. So bending knee is fine, but over bending the knee too. I see some people stretch and the knee goes way past and you can't even see your toes. Usually that means they have to widen out their stance. Most people just don't really come into that pose with that big, deep knee bend. But I have seen it, and I don't feel it's very safe for your posture because the stability is there. You don't have that stability of the legs and all the bones, right? So that's what we want. We want stability in our practice. So you're here, and then our arms are going to go wide. We're going to turn our gaze forward. So we're just going to hold the pose for a couple of breaths. I want you to breathe in and out and just explore what's happening in your body. Notice how the pose feels. And then just go back to long spine. So you want to find that extension, that lift up, right? And this is really important to have your abs engaged. So you want to draw in, lower belly. And then reverse warrior, we're not changing anything in the legs. They're staying exactly the same. So the upper body just changes. So we're going to sweep up. So as you reach up with your right arm, reach down with your left arm, but don't collapse in the lower back. So still think about keeping that length in the lower back, right? So you're not dumping into your hips and pelvis, right? And you want to make sure that everything is aligned from the shoulders to the hips, and then bring your arms back. So see, nothing's changing. I'm not shifting anywhere in the upper body. It's just kind of staying, my shoulders are right over top of my hips. All right, and side angle pose too, there's lots of variations of this one. So if you just put your hand on your front thigh, that works really nicely. And then you can stretch up with the opposite arm. So you're still creating that space. And then you can just take a little side bend over. If you want, you could place your forearm there, but again, try not to collapse here in your rib cage. Still find that lift. So if you press down into this forearm, it's going to give you that little bit of resistance so you don't collapse there. All right, and then you'll go back to your warrior 2 and then release your arms down. And then look down at your feet. We're going to turn them so the feet are parallel. So parallel feet. I always go with second toes because everybody has different big toes and sometimes they have bunions and other things happening with the feet. So usually second toes will line up with the long edge of your mat. So that's kind of like a guideline. So second toe lined up. And then you just want to have the outer edges of your feet, make sure they're pressing down, your heels are pressing down, but you still want to have that lifting up. So arches of your feet will be lifting up, and this is going to create energy that goes all the way up into your abs, right? So you're lifting up pelvic floor, you're lifting up lower belly. Hands are going to go to your hips. We're just going to come halfway down. So you can put your thumbs in your hip creases. I like this one. Thumbs and hip creases, and then we're going to hinge from the hips. So as you come here, press your thumbs in, and then see if you can push your thigh bones back. Lift your lower belly, and then tailbone, sitting bone should be reaching straight up. So they shouldn't be tucked under. And even when maybe if you start to come forward, you want to actually think about tailbone, sitting bones moving up towards the ceiling as the head comes down towards the floor. Right, breathe in and out, and just go as far as you want here. So play around with it. Maybe the hands are going to come down the legs. Stop when you feel uncomfortable and take a breath. And then ask yourself, am I good here? Or can I go further? And then test and see. And obviously, if it doesn't feel good, then you stop. So if your hamstrings are tight, you might want to slightly bend the knees. And if you have really open hamstrings, try not to overstretch, right? So still keep that integrity of the muscles working in your core, right? Sometimes we get too flexy and too bendy, and then that's not good for our joints or hypermobile joints. And then you have issues there too. So just be really kind to yourself. Keep pressing down into your feet, lifting up those arches. And then we're coming up slowly, 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 so don't get dizzy. And then roll the shoulders back. All right, let's take warrior two on the other side. So we're gonna pivot on the foot. So if you lift up your toes, you're gonna turn from the heel. So you're just turning, turning, turning. This will kick your hip into external rotation, right? So turning out and then setting the toes down, and then you're turning in on the back. So you're just turning it in. So it's just about 1/3 of the way. It's not like all the way in, just enough so you can get those hips turned. All right, we're gonna bend the front leg, and you're looking down at your foot, and can you see your toes? And is your knee tracking in or is the knee tracking out? And that's gonna be just a little adjustment with your front foot. So you can turn the heel in if your knee is tracking in, out if your knee is tracking out. So there's just kind of a little adjustment there. Check the back foot, make sure the back foot's aligned, that it's grounded, and then having that lift here. And then arms float out, gaze turns forward, and we're breathing. So alignment here in the torso is just shoulders over hips. And we're not going here, and we're not going back here. I see sometimes people will be like, oh, I'm looking forward, I'm going forward. And they don't even realize that, but it just really bring it back. So you're in the present. So here's the present, there's the future, there's the past. So we want to stay in present moment in our postures. Deep breath in and out. And then we're going to reach up with the left arm. So you're stretching up, reach down with the right. So don't even touch your leg, just reach the arms apart. Look up, keep reaching up, maybe a little bit back, but more up. And then we're going to bring that left hand to your thigh. And then we'll stretch the right arm up. So you're kind of just switching what you're doing, going the other way. So side angle pose, we are leaning forward just a little bit, but not a lot, but we're collapsing here. We're trying to keep these open so you can breathe really well. And if you put your forearm there and you tend to feel like you're collapsing, push down and away. So you're lifting up again. Breathe in and out. And then come back to your warrior two. And then relax the arms down. Let's turn the feet again. So they're parallel, but we're going to turn the heels in, toes out. So we just did external rotation on both of your hips. So you turn them out, right? So it just means that the bone turned outwards in your hip socket. That's all that means. All right, so you're bending the knees. So a little plie squat. So the knees are now still tracking over the second toe. So watch that as it happens. Knees are tracking. And if you find again that this is really hard, so maybe you're tight in your inner thighs or tight in your outer thighs, and this becomes more difficult, play around with legs wider, legs narrow, right? So see what happens with your stance. And then maybe not as deep of a plie squat, maybe turn the heels out a little bit, right? And then practice bending and straightening the knees. So we're going to go into goddess. And I like goddess. It's a little different and it works different muscles. Does work those glutes, works the outer hips, quadriceps, right? And you're using your inner thighs, your adductor muscles as you straighten the legs. So let's take the arms out, bend your elbows 90 degrees. And we're going to stretch the arms up. We're going to move in and out of it. So on your out breath, we're bending. On your in breath, for straightening. So really press down into your feet. Squeeze the inner thighs towards each other as you straighten the legs. And lift up. Right? So feel that lift of the lower belly the whole time. Good, 2 more breaths. And then relax your arms down. And then we're going to walk our feet together. So let's do this. Heel, toe together. Work those feet and come to mountain pose. Close your eyes again, check in. Take a breath in and out of your nose. And then we'll inhale the arms up. And exhale, fold. Fingers touch. Inhale to lift and lengthen your spine. And then exhale to fold. And then we're going to slowly roll ourselves up to stand, stack up those vertebrae, roll the shoulders back. And then we're going to step to the very front of your mat. So you're standing at the short end of your mat. Let's reach the arms up, extended mountain pose. And then come to chair pose. We're going to step back with your right foot and come to warrior one. So warrior one, our hips are facing forward. So your 2 front hip points, your ASIS, facing forward. These are your headlights. So in this type of shape, you want to make sure hips are facing forward. Then you look at your feet, you check in with your thighs, and if you feel like you want to widen out your stance, you can take your front foot and edge it towards the other side of your mat. Same thing, you can move the back foot. So you're wider, right? So everybody's bodies are shaped differently. We have different hips. So none of us are, you know, there's somebody's like, these are like our hips, right? So just check in and see what feels good in your body. Again, with the front leg, you could deepen it, but if it hurts your knee, then don't, right? Just slighter, bend, doesn't matter. All right, arms are reaching up. Shoulders are soft. You're breathing in and out of your nose. And then we're going to let the arms come down, and we're going to hinge forward from your hips, right? So now you're just aligning your back leg all the way up to the shoulder. So think about from your outer heel to your hip to your shoulder is in a straight line for your hinge. Your gaze is ahead. We're taking a breath. All right, so we're going to lift up the back heel, keep your toes down, and then push the heel down. So it's lift and lower, lift and lower. All right, we're going to float the leg up. So on your next breath, we're going to float up, heel, your upper body is coming forward. So more weight is transferring onto your front leg. We're going to float the back leg up. So little warrior 3. Take your hands, press them into your left thigh, and see if that helps you to lengthen even more. Bend the knee, pull it in, land it, come back to your chair pose. Press into your feet, straighten the legs. Good, shake everything out. We're going to do that same on the other side. So again, standing tall, take a breath, come to your chair pose. All right, so your more weight's going to go into your right leg. Left leg will lighten up. You're going to pick up the legs, extend it back, and then land your foot into warrior 1. Take those adjustments. Maybe the feet are moving wider. Play with the front knee, you know, see, maybe you step in, maybe it's a shorter stance, right? So you can come here. So this is all stuff that you guys can do on your own in your practice. Like nobody's like saying, I'm not the yoga police. I'm not going to say, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. You have to take what's good for your body. Let's float the arms up, relax the shoulders, check in with your breath. And then your arms are coming down, and we're just going to hinge forward. So you're just bring your upper body forward so that you have this beautiful alignment. Your spine stays long. There's no collapsing anywhere. Take another breath. Let's lift up the back heel and press it down. Do that another time. And then you're going to prepare yourself for warrior 3. So find your drishti, your gaze point. Shift your weight more onto your front leg. Let the back leg float. See if you can hold it. And then you're going to bend the knee, place your foot, come to your chair pose, and then straighten your legs and reach up. And exhale, circle the arms around. Close your eyes, check in. So it's just noticing in your body what feels good, what doesn't feel good. You keep what feels good, and the rest set it aside, you don't need it. All right, let's stretch arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift and lengthen, so spine is long. Exhale, fold. We're gonna walk back to our plank pose, and we're gonna come down to the floor. So knees, untuck toes, hips, all the way down. So remember we did the little bit of work here with this, right? So we're gonna go back to that, and if you want to, you could reach back and hold onto your foot. So this will just stretch out your quadricep. You could also use a strap, right? So if you have a yoga strap or a tie, you could wrap it around your foot, and that will help you to grab onto it if you can't reach it with your hand. I know that was kind of awkward, but yeah, that's how we do. That's how you do it if you have a strap. Sometimes it's just easier to grab your pant leg, honestly, and hold it there. Or you can just not even bother holding it and just pull it in as close as you can get your heel to your glute, and then you'll still receive that stretch in your quadricep. So you want to hold it for about 3 breaths. Keep pressing the hips down into the mat, and then lengthen the leg and set it down. And we'll go to the other side, same thing. You're going to bend it. If you can grab your foot, you can hold it. Keep pressing the hip bones, pubic bone down into the mat as you stretch your quadricep. And then release it, and then stack up your hands. We're going to lift and lengthen both legs. So reach them away and lift both legs at the same time. And relax them. All right, full locust pose. Arms are coming long by your side. Your thumbs are down, your pinkies are up. So the object here is to lift up everything off the ground except your hips. So your front of your hips are pressing down, your pubic bone is pressing down, and your belly and part of your chest. So we're lifting up just the legs first. And then you're going to peel your shoulders off, then the arms, and then the head and chest will lift last. All right, and you're breathing in and out of your nose. Just keep lengthening. You should feel your glutes. So if you can touch them, make sure they're firing. Your hamstrings should be working. Good, last breath. And then slowly release. Let everything relax as you come down to the floor. You're welcome to turn your head. If that doesn't feel good, you can stack up and rest your head on your hands. Deep breath in and out of your nose. Last breath. And then we're pressing ourselves back into child's pose. And then just soften over the legs. Okay, so we're coming up to seated next. So take your time to come up to seated. And we're gonna move into cobbler pose. All right, so a little bit of stretching for the inner thighs. So the soles of your feet will come together, and then your knees are going to be open wide. Now, the thing is, like with hips, right, you can't control how your bones are made and how your bones are going into your hip socket. So as much as like people are like, oh, I'd love to be able to get my hips like that, it's just, you know, I can do some things, I can't do others. And that's kind of how it goes. So if you press the soles of your feet together, and we're all going to do this, so put your hands on the floor, and then I want you to try to bring your knees up as high as you can get them, right? So keep lifting up. You're going to feel a lot of work in your inner thighs. And then as you lower them, resist it. Resist, resist, resist. Just don't let them go flop. And we're going to do it again. Press your soles of your feet together. Create resistance as you try to bring your knees together. They do not have to come together. Just as high as you can get them. They may be shaking. And then again, resist on the way down. So just don't let your legs flop open. Good, one more of those. Press, lift. This is slow butterfly. It's got really slow wings today. All right. And then relax and see, like maybe if you press your sitting bones down and your tailbone down and press the soles of your feet together, can you sit up higher? Can your spine get longer? Okay, so check in with the fun things you can explore in your body without judging yourself with your hips. All right, let's take the legs. We're going to stretch them forward and then take them a little wider. So your heels are pressing down into the ground, and we're going to put our fingers down. We're going to press down too, because we're going to sit up really tall. So I want you up on your sitting bones and tailbone. So You got 3 bones down there and you're grounding through them. So bend your knees as much as you need to in order to sit up tall. So I'll just show you, because in my body, this is what happens. If I straighten my legs, I have a tendency to, I'll turn sideways, to create more of a rounded spine, right? Which is not what I want to do. I want to sit up tall. So you can see a difference as I come here and I come here. You know, just because I live in a tighter body in the back, that I have to make, this is my accommodation. So a lot of people have this. They want you to just be aware of it, that, you know, just think about the hips dropping down and help the spine a little bit by bending the knees. All right, so we're reaching the arms up. And we're going to fold right into the center. So still maintain that long spine. You're moving forward. Keep pressing the heels down, and then let your hands just rest gently onto your legs. And then play with the spine a little bit. Sometimes if you even take your hands and place them behind your head and then press your head back like into a headrest and lengthen your spine, that helps too. And you can even feel a lot more sensations and stretch in the backs of your legs. All right, breathe in and then breathe out. So a lot of times we get caught up when we see the pictures of people doing yoga postures and they're like all spread out on the floor. And then, you know, just realizing that that's not accessible for a lot of people. So, but you still want to receive the benefits of the posture. And forward folds are mostly just really calming and cooling. So you want to just receive that benefit without having to overstretch your ligaments and your hips and create pain in your lower back, which is not a welcome feeling in anyone's body, believe me. And then your sacrum too, you want to protect that. All right, so breathe in and out. And then we're slowly coming up. And then you're just going to shake your legs together. And then we're going to come down to the floor to finish up. Okay, so you will need a pillow or a yoga block or something to put between your thighs. We're working on bridge pose next. All right, so go ahead and make your way down. So before we do anything, I just want you to check in with your body once you're down here. So notice your lower back, notice your hips, notice your breath. And then if you're using a block or even a pillow or whatever you have, you're going to place it between your thighs. All right, and you're going to bring your feet in as close as you can get them towards your sitting bones. So the heels should be lined up with the sitting bones. So you can touch your bones if you can find them in there. Sometimes it's harder to find them when you're in this position. Arms are resting long by your side. So the shoulders are not up by your ears. And we're going to press the backs of the shoulders down into the mat. We're going to give a slight squeeze of that block, and you're lifting up pelvic floor, lower belly, and we're lifting straight up from the tailbone up towards the sky. All right, stay up there. Relax the glutes. So sometimes we grip here. Try to let the glutes soften. Squeeze the block or pillow between your thighs. Keep pressing the shoulders down. And then see if you can lengthen from your sternum all the way to your pubic bone. See if you can find length in your back. Good, last breath. And then come down in one piece so we're not articulating the spine. Good, relax. Take a breath in and out. Take that support out. All right, so now let's stretch the legs out. So I want you to feel your back body on the ground. So feel your glutes, your hamstrings, your lower back. Take a deep breath in. Let's stretch the arms up, lengthen. And then we're going to bend just the right knee into your chest. So we're going to take a stretch here. We're going to do a couple stretches for the hips. So first is going to be that reclined pigeon pose. So you're going to hold on to the outside of your right ankle and you're going to hold on to your knee. So you're going to do a slight external rotation from the hip joint, which is going to bring your knee out a little bit at the diagonal line so that you're bringing your heel in towards the midline. This is a reclined pigeon pose. So if, you know, sometimes you take a yoga class and they do this on the floor and that doesn't feel very good on your knee joint at all, then this is a modification for that. So pigeon pose or reclined pigeon pose. Still the same work, just less compression. So you're breathing in to all of the tissues around your hip joint. So maybe you're feeling some stretch in your glutes. And then we're going to bend the left knee in, and you're going to place the right ankle on top of it. We're going to come right into figure 4 stretch. If this is too much to have your foot off the floor, you can also put a yoga block underneath of it. And that's kind of like a little less than having it up there. You can also keep your foot on the floor. You can add movement, rocking. So if you have a tendency to be tight here on your outer hips, if you move your legs to the opposite direction, on this one, it'll be to the left. You're going to feel more stretch here. You don't even have to use your arms, right? You can just leave your arms resting on the floor and just move the legs. You're still going to receive the same sort of stretch without all the pulling and gripping. And it lets the shoulders relax. I've been doing this more, and I find that I get more out of it because I'm not pulling and gripping and holding. And your muscles still get the same stretch. All right, last breath. And then we're going to release it. So take your time to uncross it. And if you're using the block, you're going to slide that off to the side. We're going to stretch both legs out. Inhale, your arms up, lengthen. Exhale, we're going to pull the left knee in. And we'll set up for that reclined pigeon. So your right hand's going to hold on at the ankle, your left hand at the knee. And we're just going to do a slight external rotation. And you're going to bring that heel in towards the midline until you feel a stretch. And you'll be right around your hip crease, but you're going to feel it in the back of your thigh around your glutes. Keep lengthening through the right leg so you're keeping that hip down and anchored. And then we're going to bend the right knee, Chris. Left ankle on top, come into this figure 4 stretch. On this side, relax the arms. Add movement, support underneath of the right foot with the floor or a block if you need to. And if you want more stretch, you can take your feet closer over to the right side to stretch out the left hip. You can also add circles, right? Little circles. So you're using the right leg to kind of guide the circle around. So you're circling at the right hip. The left one's kind of passive as it receives the stretch. All right, last breath, and you're lowering your foot down if it's lifted. You're uncrossing. And then just a couple of pelvic tilts here. Tuck and tilt, kind of where we started. Check in with your lower back, check in with your hips and pelvis. Mobility, any tightness, any changes. And then let both of your knees drop in. Take your knees apart and just hold it there. Let your tailbone be heavy. Relax the lower back. Again, pulling on the knees into your chest puts a lot of strain on the low back. Just let them hang there. And then just bring your arms between your knees and then lift up your lower legs and wrap your arms behind them. So you're just supporting that. And then again, go into some rocking. Let your tailbone still be heavy here. So your lower back is on the floor. We're not overstretching the lumbar spine. Breathe in and out. So you learn a lot about your body as you practice. So even if you're brand new to yoga or you haven't practiced in a while, sometimes you might notice things you haven't noticed before. And even if you've been practicing for a long time, I always find new stuff all the time in my body. So you have to learn how to make these accommodations for your body so that you stay out of pain, you keep your yoga practice sustainable. Let's stretch the arm and legs up towards the ceiling. We're going to circle in both directions. And then we're going to shake everything out. And then you're setting up for your Shavasana today. So you're going to take whatever feels good on your body. So if you want to just stretch out and rest, you can. You can come to seated. You can do legs up the wall. You can take any support for your body that you need so you can rest comfortably and just let your body absorb the benefits from your practice today. So get yourself set up. I want you to be completely relaxed. And then once you're there, take a deep breath in through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Just let go of any efforting, any holding. Let yourself be completely relaxed here. Surrender into the posture. So back body releases, heels, backs of your legs, your hips, your spine, shoulders, arms, back of head. And then let the front body sink into the back body. The softening from the front of your ankles and feet, fronts of your legs, hips, belly, ribs, chest, throat. And then just begin to soften your neck, your head, your face. You want to relax your eyes, eyebrows, soften your temples, your ears, jaw, lips. Let your tongue rest gently in your mouth. And then tuning into your breath, allowing it to flow in and out with ease. So it's more of a relaxing breath. Your mind is quiet. Your body is completely relaxed. Okay, slowly start to bring your awareness back into your body. Wiggle fingers and toes. Deepen the breath. And then maybe a stretch. And then you can bend your knees. You can windshield wiper the legs. You can bring them into your chest. And then just taking your time to slowly roll to your right. And then easing yourself up into a comfortable seat. Once you're there, close your eyes. Take a moment to notice how you're feeling. And then we'll inhale the arms up, join your palms together, and then exhale, hands to the heart. Allow your chin to lower towards your chest. Let's return to that intention that you set for your practice today. Find gratitude for being here. And then on your in-breath, we're going to move the thumb knuckles up to your third eye point. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.